Hi, and welcome to Zenprise. In today's video, we'll be installing Zenprise Device Manager server. Installing Zenprise Device Manager server is really straightforward and rather quick to do. And have a fully qualified domain name for the server, so it can be accessed both from the internet and the internal corporate LAN. It should be noted that this video is only a summary to show you the steps that we'll go through. You should always follow the documentation to be prepared before you go through an install. To speed up the process, you should collect all the software components before proceeding. Here we'll have all the components we need, and we'll start with the Java piece first. We'll need to install the Java JDK so that we can actually run the backend, which will support the web services. This is a separate download only available from the Oracle Java website. You'll need the Java SE JDK as well as the JCE components. We'll go ahead and kick off the Java install, and we're going to let it go through all its defaults, pre-configured by the Java installer. Next, we'll need to add the Java encrypted capability components. These are two new libraries that are added to the Java that's already been installed. The path is already created by the Java installer. We'll simply copy and paste these into these two directories. When copying the files, go ahead and replace the existing versions. There's no need to keep or backup, as these are actually the new encrypted libraries that are required for the Zenprise server. Okay, now the Java components are properly copied and set up, we'll go ahead and move on to the next step, which is installing the Zenprise Device Manager server itself. Go ahead and open up the installer payload that you already downloaded, and double-click the Zenprise Device Manager 6 installer. The Zenprise Device Manager install wizard will walk you through all the necessary steps and prompt you for the files you'll need. Here you'll see the first step. We're going to install both the database and the application server. Go ahead and select the install for the default locations, and the Zenprise wizard will begin the process of setting up the new database. The default database is the Postgres server. This comes freely with the Zenprise Device Manager application and should be used if you're doing local installations. You can also use Microsoft SQL Server. Let's go ahead and add a secure password for installing the database service account. We'll go ahead and say yes for the new account and choose no to avoid the random password. We'll go ahead and choose our own password. You'll need to remember this password as you'll be prompted for it once more when you install the Zenprise application server. Click Next to continue. Go ahead and click Next through the several boxes and allow the Postgres server to install with its defaults. When ready, go ahead and click the Finish button. The next step will be installing the Tomcat Apache Web Services, the engine that drives the Zenprise Device Manager server. When prompted for the Zenprise Device Manager license, go ahead and click the Browse button and navigate to where you have saved the local Zenprise license file. When accepted, click Next. Now you're going to need to enter the database account name. This is the Postgres account that you used before. You want to keep this username and password somewhere safe so you can reference it if you ever have to go into database management. Click the Check Connection, and you'll be prompted to create the new database. Go ahead and click OK, and then Next to continue. Click Next again, and you'll be prompted to ask if you want to enable for iOS device management. This is a very important step and should not be skipped if you plan to manage iOS devices. The next few windows will actually prompt you through creating the new connectors to allow new devices to enroll and connect during regular activity. Now we get to create the local root certificate authority. This is the premise behind the security of Zenprise Device Manager Server, is its own local CA. You can use another third-party or internal root certificate authority, but for this install, we'll go ahead and continue through the local certificate authority screens. It is important to use strong passwords and try to use unique passwords that won't be repeated through other logins or other parts of the installation steps. Make sure you write down and record all passwords that you use for the installation. On this screen, you'll want to make sure you enter a very secure password and the fully qualified domain name that you're going to assign to your Zenprise Device Manager server. This is also the certificate that your devices bind to when talking to the Zenprise Device Manager server. You want to make sure that you set it up correctly. Click Next, and on the next screen we now get to enter the APNS certificate provided by the Apple Developer Portal. Every APNS certificate is unique, and you want to use the production version, not the developer. Notice that we already have ours converted in the P12 or PKCS12 format. Enter the private key password, and you should see that it's verified and in production mode. When you see the validity and everything looks okay, go ahead and click the next button. Now we get to create the local admin account that will be first used when you start your Zenprise Device Manager server. We'll go ahead and use admin and our own strong password. When verified, click the check username. It'll make sure there's no duplicates in the database, so click OK and then Next to continue. Now you're ready to do the install. Click Finish, and the wizard will automatically start setting up the Zenprise Device Manager server. You can also click the Show Details if you wish to see more information about the local installation. After the Windows Web Services are all started, go ahead and click the Next button. And there you go, the installation is completed. Go ahead and click the Finish button, and you'll be ready to go ahead and start the web server. You'll want to log in with the admin account you set up during the first part of installation. Once the web console fires up, you'll see the Device Manager web console main screen for devices. Now you can get started to add users and devices to your management scheme. Zenprise Device Manager server is all set up, getting your mobile environment installed, configured, and secured quickly. Zenprise, automating mobile management.